Are you sick of the whole rise and grind thing? This culture that promises a fortune, but just leaves you feeling fried? You're working hard. You're putting in the hours. But your bank account is telling the exact same story it was last year. After a long week, you look at your balance and wonder, where did it all go? It's that deep, nagging anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck, or just the frustrating feeling that you're spinning your wheels. It's exhausting. The world screams that getting rich means being loud. It means hustling harder, chasing every shiny new trend, and basically sacrificing your sanity. But what if the real path to wealth isn't loud? What if it's quiet? What if building financial freedom is less like a frantic sprint and more like a calm, deliberate walk in the park? Today, I'm sharing 7 quiet habits that build wealth for you 24/7, even while you're sleeping. These aren't flashy get-rich-quick schemes or risky bets. They are the simple, foundational disciplines the wealthy use to let their money do the work for them, compounding silently in the background. This is about building a type of wealth that brings peace, not pressure. It's about shifting your mindset from frantic effort to intelligent design. So, if you're ready to trade financial stress for financial peace and build a foundation of quiet, unshakable wealth, stay with me. Let's start with the most important habit of all. Habit number 1, automate your wealth engine. The single most powerful habit that separates the financially successful from the perpetually struggling is this. They don't depend on willpower. They depend on systems. And the absolute cornerstone of any good financial system is automation. This is a habit of paying yourself first, but on autopilot, turning a good intention into an unbreakable rule. Think about it. How many times have you hit the end of the month, seen what was left in your checking account, and promised yourself, okay, next month I'll save more? The problem is, life always gets in the way. An unexpected bill pops up. A tempting sale appears. By the time you actually get around to saving, there's usually not much left. The old model of earning, spending, and then saving what's left is fundamentally broken. It puts your future self last in line. Quiet millionaires flip the script. They set up their savings and investments to happen the second they get paid, before they even have a chance to touch that money. This isn't about depriving yourself. It's about prioritizing your future, executed flawlessly by a machine. You make the decision to be wealthy once, and a system handles it forever. Here's how the silent engine works. You set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your investment and savings accounts, scheduled for your payday. This could be a contribution to your 401k, a Roth IRA, a high-yield savings account for your emergency fund, or a recurring investment into a low-cost index fund. The magic is that this money vanishes from your spending account before you even notice it's there. You can't spend what you don't see. This completely removes the daily struggle of deciding to save. It takes emotion, forgetfulness, and procrastination out of the equation. Suddenly, building wealth isn't an act of discipline anymore. It's a silent background process, as reliable as your own heartbeat. Now, a lot of people make a small mistake here. They transfer a fixed dollar amount. A much smarter strategy is to use percentages. When you get a raise, your savings automatically scale up with you, preventing that pesky lifestyle creep from eating up all your new income. Start with a percentage that feels doable, say 10% of your take-home pay. Then create a plan to increase it by 1% every 6 months. You'll barely notice the difference day to day, but the long-term impact will be astronomical. For the actual investing part, robo-advisors like Betterment or Wealthfront have made this ridiculously easy. These platforms let you set up recurring deposits and automatically invest the money into a diversified portfolio that matches your goals. They handle all the complex stuff like rebalancing and reinvesting dividends for you, creating a true set-it-and-forget-it wealth machine. The psychological win here is massive. By automating, you're building a fortress against your own worst impulses. You're admitting that we're human, we're emotional, we're tempted by shiny things, and our willpower isn't an infinite resource. Instead of fighting a daily battle you're bound to lose sometimes, You rig the game so that success is a default setting. This is the essence of quiet wealth. Making one brilliant decision to automate and then letting that system run for the rest of your life. Habit number 2, live below your means by design, not by deprivation. When most people hear live below your means, they picture a grim life of reusing tea bags and saying no to every joy. That's a damaging myth. The quiet millionaire approaches this habit not as deprivation, but as intentional design. It's about creating a life where your spending is a conscious choice that reflects your values, not just a reaction to your paycheck. The silent killer of wealth isn't the occasional fancy dinner. It's lifestyle inflation. It's that natural urge to spend more every time you earn more. You get a raise, you get a bigger apartment, you get a bonus, you get a fancier car. Next thing you know, you're earning more than ever but still feel just as broke. You're just running faster on the hamster wheel. The quietly wealthy build a lifestyle shield. They deliberately create and defend the gap between what they earn and what they spend. Why? Because that gap is the fuel for their wealth engine. Every dollar that doesn't go toward a more expensive lifestyle is a dollar that can be put to work in their automated investment systems, where it starts earning more money. This isn't about feeling poor. It's about choosing to be rich. It's a huge mindset shift from performative wealth to purposeful wealth. So many people spend money to signal status. The luxury car, the designer clothes, the oversized house. They focus on looking rich. The quietly wealthy focus on being rich. They choose assets over aesthetics and freedom over flex. They know that a Gucci belt or a flashy car payment is just capital that could have been generating passive income while they sleep. So, how do you do this without feeling miserable? You start by defining what a rich life actually means to you, not what social media says it should look like. Maybe your rich life is the freedom to travel, the ability to work on passion projects, or the peace of mind of knowing you can handle any emergency. Once you're crystal clear on what you really value, it becomes almost effortless to cut back on the things you don't. You don't feel deprived for skipping the latest gadget, because you know that money is buying you something you want far more, your freedom. This applies to the big purchases, too. The quietly wealthy often drive modest cars and live in homes well within their means because they know that what most people call wealth is actually just consumption. By keeping their biggest expenses, housing and transportation, intentionally low, they free up a massive amount of capital to invest. The person who buys a reliable used car and invests the difference from a luxury car payment can end up with hundreds of thousands of extra dollars over their lifetime. That's not a sacrifice. It's a strategic trade. They're trading a depreciating liability for an appreciating asset. This habit is quiet because it's invisible. Nobody congratulates you for the money you don't spend. This is a private discipline that leads to a public result later in life. Total financial independence. You're simply playing a different game, one where the goal isn't to impress others, but to liberate yourself. Habit number 3, build multiple, scalable streams of passive income. The third quiet habit is a core law of wealth creation. You absolutely must build multiple streams of income. Relying on a single paycheck from a 9 to 5 job is like building your financial castle on a single rickety pillar. For the quietly wealthy, a single income source is a single point of failure. Now, this isn't about working 18-hour days juggling 3 jobs. That's just hustle culture with extra steps. The real key is to build passive income streams, assets that make money with minimal ongoing effort. This is the income that doesn't stop when you clock out. It flows in while you're on vacation, spending time with family, and yes, while you sleep. Let's be clear about passive income. Nothing is 100% passive from day one. Most streams require an upfront investment of either time or money. The difference is you're not trading your time for money directly. You're building a machine that makes the money for you. There are tons of ways to do this, but let's look at a few of the most effective ones. First, the purest form, income from financial investments. When you own dividend-paying stocks or ETFs, you're a part owner of businesses working around the clock. A piece of their profit is sent to you as a dividend. By using the automation we talked about in habit number 1, you can have these dividends automatically reinvested. This creates a beautiful compounding loop. Your dividends buy more shares, which then pay you even more dividends. It's a self-perpetuating wealth cycle. Another powerhouse is real estate income. For many, being a landlord sounds like a nightmare of late-night calls about leaky faucets. But there's a quieter way. You can invest in real estate investment trusts or REITs. AREIT is a company that owns a portfolio of income-producing properties like apartment buildings or shopping centers. When you buy a share, you're basically a fractional owner and get a slice of the rental income as dividends without any of the landlord headaches. If you're willing to put in some upfront creative work, selling digital products is an incredibly scalable option. Think ebooks, online courses, or digital templates. You pour your knowledge into creating a high-quality product once. But once it's done and you have a sales system, it can be sold an infinite number of times to anyone in the world, 24/7. Finally, you can build a small business that is designed to be a system. A great example is an affiliate marketing blog. You write helpful articles about a topic you love and include links to relevant products. When a reader clicks a link and buys something, you earn a commission. The work is all front-loaded in creating the content. But a single great article can attract readers and generate income for years. The principle is the same across the board. You are building or buying assets that work for you. The average millionaire has multiple streams of income for a reason. It creates resilience. If one stream slows down, the others have your back. It's about thinking like an owner, not just an employee. We're about halfway through, and if these habits are making sense to you, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. We're building a community here focused on calm, smart wealth building, cutting through the noise to focus on what actually works. Now, let's get into a habit that compounds even faster than money. Habit number 4, practice continual learning as a form of compounding. The fourth quiet habit is the invisible engine that drives every good financial decision, the relentless pursuit of knowledge. While most people are scrolling social media for a quick dopamine hit, the quietly wealthy are often reading a book, an annual report, or an industry analysis. They understand that the greatest asset they will ever own is their own mind, and they invest in it every single day. There's no better example than Warren Buffett, who famously spends up to 80% of his day reading and thinking. When asked for his secret to success, he once pointed to a stack of reports and said, "Read 500 pages like this every day." That's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. That concept is everything. Knowledge compounds. What you learn today builds on what you learned yesterday, creating an ever-expanding base of wisdom. The more you understand about business, psychology, and history, the better you get at spotting opportunities and avoiding risks that others don't see. Investing stops being a gamble and starts feeling more like a calculated execution. This habit is quiet because it's totally internal. It's the slow, patient work of upgrading your own financial blueprint. Most of us operate on a default blueprint we absorbed from our families or from a culture that pushes spending and debt. By dedicating time to your financial education, you are actively rewriting that program. So what does this look like in practice? You don't have to read 500 pages of dense reports. It just means making a conscious choice to prioritize learning over mindless entertainment. It's swapping an hour of TV for an hour with a great book on investing or behavioral finance. It's listening to an economics podcast on your commute instead of the same old playlist. And don't just read about money. Read biographies of successful people to understand their mindset. Read about history to understand economic cycles. Read about psychology to understand your own biases. This diverse knowledge base lets you connect dots in ways others can't. This habit is also your best defense against the noisy, chaotic financial world. The media loves to blast you with headlines designed to make you feel fear or greed. Someone with a solid foundation of knowledge can see a market downer not with panic, but with the calm perspective of someone who studied history and knows volatility is part of the game. Think of your mind as your most valuable portfolio. Every book you read is a deposit. This portfolio doesn't care about market crashes. It pays you dividends for the rest of your life in the form of better decisions and less anxiety. Start small. Just commit to reading 15 minutes a day on a financial topic. That tiny habit will compound into an unstoppable force that quietly guides you toward wealth. Habit number 5. Master the art of emotional regulation. If automation is the engine of your wealth machine and knowledge is the map, then emotional regulation is the unshakable frame that holds it all together during a storm. This 5th habit is arguably the hardest to master, but it's what separates amateur investors from the pros. It's the ability to do nothing when the market is bleeding red and every instinct is screaming at you to sell. Investing is emotional. The part of our brain that panics during a stock market crash is the same part that reacts to a tiger lunging from the bushes. It triggers a fight or flight response, demanding that we do something. This is why so many investors get trapped in a disaster cycle. They buy high, fueled by the fear of missing out, and they sell low, driven by pure panic. This emotional whiplash is the single greatest destroyer of wealth for the average person. The quietly wealthy have trained themselves to short-circuit this response. They understand that in investing, your biggest enemy isn't the economy. It's the person staring back at you in the mirror. As Charlie Munger, Buffett's partner, famously said, a lot of people with high IQs are terrible investors because they have terrible temperaments. This is a quiet habit because it's a battle waged entirely inside your own head. It's the discipline to hold steady when everyone else is running for the exits. History is clear. Markets are volatile. They go up and they go down. But over the long term, the trajectory has always been upward. The big mistake isn't being in the market during a downturn. The mistake is getting out. Classic studies have shown that missing just a few of the market's best rebound days can slash your long-term returns, sometimes by more than half. And those best days often happen right after the worst days, when fear is at its absolute peak. So, how do you build this emotional iron will? First, your automated investment system, habit number 1, is your best friend. By automatically investing on a schedule, you practice dollar cost averaging. You naturally buy more shares when prices are low and fewer when they're high. This system takes the impossible task of timing the market off your plate and turns volatility into your ally. Second, your commitment to learning, habit number 4, gives you crucial perspective. When you've studied past crashes, you see a market drop not as catastrophe, but as a predictable event in a long story. It allows your rational brain to calm your emotional brain. Third, deliberately limit your exposure to financial news and checking your portfolio. Stop looking at your accounts every day. It serves zero purpose and just hooks you into the emotional roller coaster. Quiet millionaires aren't watching stock tickers. They're living their lives, letting time and compounding do the work. Finally, reframe what a market drop means. It's not a loss, it's a sale. The world's greatest companies are temporarily on discount. Your automated system is now scooping up valuable assets at a cheaper price. Mastering your emotions is the quiet, internal work of building resilience and patience. It ensures that you, not your fear, are in control of your financial destiny. Habit number 6, practice decade-long thinking. This 6th habit is a profound shift in perspective that makes all the others work. It's the practice of thinking in decades, not days. In a world obsessed with instant gratification and overnight success, the quietly wealthy are playing a completely different game. They play the long game. This long-term mindset is what unlocks the true, explosive power of compounding. In the first few years, the growth from compounding can feel painfully slow. This is the boring middle, and it's where most people lose patience. They get discouraged, abandon their strategy, and jump to the next hot thing. But the quietly wealthy embrace the boring middle. They know that the most dramatic growth happens in the later years. $1 you invest in your 20s is exponentially more powerful than the dollar you invest in your 50s. By thinking in decades, you give your money the time it needs to perform its magic. This way of thinking is completely at odds with modern culture. The financial media feeds us by obsessing over short-term market chatter, creating a mindset of speculation, not investment. Speculation is a bet on a short-term price flicker. Investment is owning a piece of a quality business and believing in its value over a long period. Quiet millionaires are investors, not speculators. They're not trying to day trade or catch the latest meme stock. They're buying great assets to hold for a very, very long time. So how do you develop this time perspective? It starts with a simple exercise. Back from the future, thinking. Create a crystal clear vision of your ideal life 20 or 30 years from now. Be specific. What does your financial life look like? How do you spend your days? What level of freedom do you have? Write it down in vivid detail. This becomes your North Star. Now work backward. To be on track for that 20-year goal, what do you need to do this year? This month? What one thing can you do today? Suddenly, saving an extra $100 isn't a chore anymore. It's a concrete step toward that incredible life you've designed for your future self. This long-term view also makes you more resilient. A market crash that feels like a disaster in the context of 1 year becomes a tiny blip on a 30-year chart. A business that fails isn't a soul-crushing defeat. It's a lesson learned on a long journey. This habit is a quiet, internal commitment to delayed gratification. It's the discipline to plant a tree today, knowing you won't sit in its shade for many years. You are patiently and quietly constructing the future you want one day at a time. Habit number 7. Engineer your environment for automatic success. This final habit ties everything together. It's the recognition that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are massively influenced by your environment. This habit is about stopping reliance on pure willpower and instead actively engineering your world to make success the easiest possible choice. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, points out that the most disciplined people aren't superhuman. They're just better at designing their lives, so they don't need superhuman discipline. They make good habits easy and bad habits hard. The quietly wealthy apply this to their entire financial lives. They become the architects of their own environment. This habit operates silently in the background. It's about the small, invisible choices you make to shape your surroundings. Start with your digital environment. Your phone can be a wealth creation tool or a weapon of financial self-destruction. The default setting is full of traps. Shopping apps ping you with sales. Social media feeds you curated images of lifestyles you can't afford, triggering envy and the urge to spend. Take back control. Delete the shopping apps from your phone. If you need to buy something, use a computer. The extra friction will give you a moment to think. Unfollow the flex accounts and follow authors and economists who make you smarter. Turn off news and stock market notifications. These small tweaks reduce the daily assault on your willpower and keep you focused. Then, look at your physical environment. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow. Want to stop impulse spending? Stop going to the mall for fun. This also applies to your social environment. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your friends are constantly talking about their latest purchases, it's going to be tough to live below your means. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who discuss ideas, business, and personal growth, their habits will rub off on you. This doesn't mean ditching your old friends, but it does mean actively seeking out communities, online or in person, that align with your goals. This final habit is the master key. It's a humble admission that you are a product of your environment. So instead of fighting that reality, you use it. You stop trying to be a perfect person in a distracting world and instead build your own world, an ecosystem of systems and influences that automatically guides you toward wealth. So there you have it. These 7 habits aren't flashy. They won't make you an overnight millionaire. But that's the whole point. We're not here for the hype. We're here for what works. True, lasting wealth isn't built in a frantic burst of activity. It's built in the quiet moments of consistency. It's built by automating your discipline, living by design, layering your income, always learning, controlling your emotions, and thinking in decades. The journey to financial freedom is a marathon, not a sprint. And the best part is you can start today right where you are. You don't need a huge income or a lucky break. You just need to decide to begin. So if you're ready to stop chasing and start building, do two things for me. First, if you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more no-nonsense wealth building strategies. Second, go to the comments right now and tell me, which one of these 7 habits are you going to start first? Is it automating your first investment? Deleting a shopping app? Committing to read 15 minutes a day? Making that commitment public is a powerful first step. Finally, remember that the greatest wealth is a life lived on your own terms. These habits are the tools to build it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.